What's up guys, it's Automotive Anonymous, and today I'm reviewing the Mazda MX-5 Miata RF Grand Touring in Soul Red Crystal Metallic. I borrowed it from Goody Mazda in Southern Idaho, so I'll link it below. They have this one and several others if you're interested. Otherwise, we're gonna get right into it with a walk around, go through the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 with the GPS, and final thoughts to decide if you should buy an MX-5 Miata. Mazda sells about 10,000 of these a year in the United States. They came out in 1990, so we're in the 4th generation. And in 2019, they had a refresh, so that makes this the ND2 chassis code. And they're pretty darn impressive. There's over 1 million of these worldwide, but with only 10,000 in the United States, you don't see a whole lot of them. And then only a fraction of those are Grand Touring RFs like this, which start at about 37,000. The only upcharges this one has is the $600 paint option and then the roadside assistant kit. The Grand Touring is the 3rd highest trim level of the MX-5, just above the Club, and what makes it specific is it gets navigation, leather seats, and adaptive LED headlights, which the LED headlights are standard across the Sport, the Club, or the Grand Touring, but these ones turn with the wheel and they're very bright. I'm really surprised how bright mine are at night. That's right, if you're new to my channel, I actually have a 2023 MX-5 Club Miata that I picked up about a month ago. This one specifically, though, is a carryover 2022, as not many RFs have come off the assembly line yet. If the video is listed as a 23, that's just because it's the exact same car for 2023 as 22. The only difference is now there's zircon paint color, otherwise mechanically everything is the same in this carryover platform. Anyways, back to the specs of this specific one, because there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. These are just under 13 feet long, about 5.5 feet wide, and roughly 4 feet tall. Because it has the RF roof, it weighs a little bit more, about 2,500 pounds, versus 2,350 like it would if it was the soft top. They have 5.3 inches of ground clearance, a 287 final drive ratio, so it puts the power down decently, but it gets really good MPG. These with the automatic are actually rated 26 city and 35 highway, so with a 12-gallon tank you're road tripping for about 400 miles if you're conservative. And honestly, you guys might even get better than that. I know in my manual Club I can get almost 40 around town. The wheelbase is 7.5 feet. It can do a full circle in 30 feet, so it's extremely agile on its feet. Whether you're just buying one of these to cruise and be a Grand Touring car, as the GT stands for on this model, or you're actually going to take it to the track, as these are one of the most raced cars on any given weekend in America, and probably around the world, it's going to do exceptionally well. Cargo capacity between the 2 passengers and the trunk are about 400 pounds max payload. So you got to be conservative in what you carry, but it doesn't give you a lot of extra room, because this doesn't make a lot of sacrifices for practicality over enjoyment and purity in driving. A few things that make this the Grand Touring are the leather seats, the LED projector headlights that do move, and the navigation that's included. It has a happy little angry face, which makes this one of the best looking front ends on a modern vehicle. This has the same Potenza 205 4517 wheels as on my Club, and they look really good. They're lightweight. There's a fix-a-flat kit in the trunk, so it doesn't actually come with the spare tire, because where would you put it? There's not any room for that. Leave that at home, call AAA. And before we get any further, let's show you how to drop the top, and then we'll hop inside and carry on with this review. So about 15 seconds is what it takes to remove the top on this RF, a little bit longer than the 1.5 seconds necessary on a soft top. And then you just have the periphery lining giving you that fixed roof appearance, which does actually look pretty good. But I think it's time we hop inside and see what else it has to offer. On the remote you have lock, unlock, trunk release, and then the alarm. You have the proximity key features, which work really nice to lock and unlock. And then the door panel actually looks really good on this model. Very simple. You have the paint color follow the top portion, leather on the door card, baby sized armrest, which isn't going to be used much at all, and then the handle, which you could store a little bit of stuff in there if you needed to. Otherwise, unnamed speaker right there, but we do know that it's Bose, and you can see the speaker ventilation on the headrest. Otherwise, nothing on the door sill really on this one. MX-5 on the floor mats, rubberized pedals, hood release, trunk release, and then your options right there. The main one you're going to be focused on might be that traction control. Ventilation looks really cool, and then we have the lighting stock on the left. Manually adjusted seats. The leather is heated and looks fantastic. If we want to drop them forward, you actually don't have the same hidden storage that you do on my Club. Otherwise, if you had to, you could hide a little bit of stuff down there behind the seat. Otherwise, guys, let's hop inside. Fired up with the push button start. Fires right up. Leather wrapped wheel, paddle shifters. We have the info button to go through our options. 7,500 RPM before the red line is very impressive. Otherwise, we have volume and voice controls on the left. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, it's wireless, and Siri with Apple CarPlay actually works really good. We have cruise control settings on the right. The horn sounds decent. And windshield stock on the right. Another ventilation there, and over there. And then we've got the scrolly dial. The screen, when you're sitting in park, is a touch screen. If you're moving more than a couple miles per hour, though, it goes to the scrolly dial only, which you have music, home, navigation, back button, whatever you want to set up with start, and then volume, or if you hold that, it turns off the screen. But I want to show you guys the backup camera. Trajectory lines do not move, but the camera takes up the whole width and actually looks pretty decent for this vehicle, which honestly would not be very hard to look over your shoulder and see what's back there. Otherwise, hazards right there. We have physical buttons. Nothing down here for plugins, but it is rubber lined. It'll hold your phone there decently. It's kind of flat though. If you're braking hard, you might have things slide out. There's the button to move the roof, heated seats, 2 plugins, and then you can also go down to manual mode and do it that way to bump through the 6 gears if you don't want to use the paddle shifters. Otherwise, we have a baby-sized center console, manual e-brake, and garage door settings up top with dimming mirrors. Let's turn it off, get to the other side. The Miata is a little bit challenging to get in and out of without kicking the steering wheel, but I've had about a month of practice and I only kick it about 1 in 4 times now. The passenger side looks basically identical. It looks really good. You still have the manual adjustments, nothing automatic on here. MX-5 on the floorboard, transmission or exhaust tunnel right there. So you lose a little bit of passenger room. No glove box on this one. And then there is the section to plug in the passenger side cup holder. If you're gonna look for the glove box, there it is. It's actually decently sized. And if you bring the passenger seat forward, you do get the extra storage on this one. But again, why not on the driver's side? We want it wherever we can get it on the MX-5. It's time to show you the gem or the jewel of the Soul Red Metallic. It's under the hood. This engine is beautiful. It's placed really well under the hood. In fact, it's basically a front mid-engine vehicle because it basically starts behind the center hub of the front wheel for the most part. It's a 50-50 weight balance vehicle, which just adds to how incredibly well this handles the road. There's really nothing like driving one of these. And then it's very straightforward under the hood. Mazda's done a fantastic job engineering it, even to the point of adding weather stripping around the periphery of the engine bay, so that the engine bay really never gets dirty under normal circumstances and driving. Windshield washer reservoir, brake fluid reservoir, coolant, everything's right up top, easy to find. The air filter, throttle body, intake side, exhaust side. It's all designed to look so beautiful, honestly. 0W20 full synthetic. It doesn't take a whole lot of oil, so maintenance is pretty inexpensive on this. And then the battery with the positive terminal, negative terminal, it's right there, easy to get to. It makes 181 peak horse at 7,000 RPM. Remember, this puppy revs to 7,500, which is just phenomenal. It makes 151 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM. So it's a rev-happy engine. And honestly, while revving it out, you're probably still going to easily be getting over 30 miles per gallon. At least that's my own personal experience. Just drop the hood, take it for a drive. Initial driving impressions of the MX-5 RF it's interesting, it's fantastic, but with that automatic transmission, it definitely feels a lot different than the vehicle I drove over to the dealer to borrow this one. The characteristics of the 2-liter are still fantastic. It does have personality, especially since it was refreshed in 2019, raising the red line from 6,800 to 7,500. Usually you don't get revving that high unless you're in the exotic market. And this is just a Mazda. This is just $37-ish thousand Mazda. Kudos to you, Mazda. It feels really good, but it definitely has a different characteristic and personality with the automatic transmission. But the paddle shifters, they work pretty good. And being in our peak torque band right now, it honestly can go through the gears pretty well. Because it's so little, the brakes do a phenomenal job. You don't need the Brembo package that you can get to stop the car. At 2,500 pounds, giving it just about a third brake pedal, it slows it right down. We're daytime driving right now, but the LEDs in these Miatas are actually exceptionally bright. I was kind of concerned when I bought mine that they wouldn't be that good because this body style came out in 2016. And I used my Outback Wilderness as kind of my comparison video with its LEDs. But honestly, it could just be because this is closer to the ground, but I think the LEDs on my Miata, on these, are brighter than my Outback. They do a fantastic job. In fact, when the vehicle's running, you can hear the fans behind the LED motors, which is really cool that Mazda actually gives you that good of a quality of LED headlight. Visibility is fantastic even when the roof is up, which I'm leaving it up so you guys can hear more than just wind noise. I will say, in person, I don't think it's that bad if you know what you're getting into. We're disappointed when we have unmet expectations or unrealistic expectations. And I think if you're driving a Roadster, the expectation is there's going to be road noise, there's going to be wind noise. My comment on that is road noise, not that bad. Wind noise, it is a little bit up there. But with the roof up, it does a pretty good job on this. And it's not something I've been disappointed in. It is very cozy, so if you're going to be driving as a passenger, pick somebody that you like. Maybe chew a piece of gum before you get in the car. But honestly, it's not that bad. It's really cool to have the wind blowing through your hair, or even having the windows cracked. The red paint just looks fantastic on this vehicle. I did consider that when I bought mine with Snowflake White Mica Pearl, but I decided not to just because I do a whole lot of road trips and driving on the country and not washing my car that often if it's a daily driver, which is what I'm kind of going to use my own personal Miata as. And the white looks really clean. The red, even when it's dirty, it still looks good, but you do notice more imperfections on the clear coat of this, so keep that in mind. If you have one of these, you're going to want to keep it waxed regularly to protect that clear coat, and then probably washed as often as you need to for the blemishes and the dirt to not bother you. Steering wheel is very well, its position in the hand. You do have a number of safety features on this, like you just heard the beeping from crossing over the line. We'll do that again right here. You can also set that to more of a rumble noise if you want. It has the smart city braking if you're going below 18 miles per hour. It has a couple airbags throughout. It doesn't have to be safety tested in the United States, but it does do a really good job on safety regardless. It's a super fun vehicle to drive. If I haven't made that clear enough, I absolutely think you guys need to go drive one of these. They're just fantastic. Super fun. 40 roll. We are going uphill a little bit. And it's awesome. Even though it only makes 181 peak horse, it's naturally aspirated, which gives a good personality where you want to rev it out. You want to get towards that red line and just have a lot of fun with it. It's a really communicative vehicle. The steering is electronic, so you don't really get a lot of input from that, but you get a lot from the chassis. It has good ground clearance. It's stable on the highway like we're driving. And I wouldn't be afraid of going on a long road trip in this. Just know with the 4.6 cubic foot trunk, you can only fit about 2 carry-ons in it. It's incredible how agile these Miatas are and how easily it can do a U-turn, which basically just takes about 15 feet. I do want to say, after putting a few more miles on this one, that the automatic and the RF is a really good package, and I think it would serve a lot of people really well. But in my opinion, you don't get the full Miata experience without it being the soft top and the manual. I think that's more of what the roots of the Miata are. And then it's nice that, you know, Mazda engineers have added more options to accommodate more people and preferences, so that you don't have to spring for a totally different class of car, but you can still stay in the lightweight roadster class. But just know the manual transmission is fantastic in this. Having the soft top though, where you can on your own adjust it at, you know, 20 miles per hour or less pretty easily, is very convenient. This hard top you can only adjust under 6 miles per hour. So there's a few trade-offs, but honestly it's still a very good package. It's extremely agile on the road. It can just maneuver like nobody's business. And a lot of us don't understand why do people like Miatas until you drive one, and then you realize it's just about the best driving experience you can get for under 50 grand. That's not an opinion. That's not subjective. I think that's pretty objective. Anyways, I might be biased. Let's get to our private road and do our 0 to 60. True altitude's almost 4,000 feet. Density altitude today is about 4,400 feet. So this engine is down on power about 14 or 15%, so keep that in mind. It's gonna be a little bit slower than what you think this should run. And then I'll verbalize the true 0 to 60. The bottom left of the GPS graph will show without the foot of rollout. That's the way the magazine would have rated it. And while we're almost to our road, I do want to mention the leather seats are quite comfortable. I've heard that they might not age as well as the cloth of the Recaro, but everyone has a different experience and drives in different weather conditions for how much time is the top off, how much sun exposure is there. All I can say is initial impressions are these leather seats are very comfortable on my build at 5'11", and the bolstering is pretty decent. Overall, it's a very comfortable experience, but let's get to that 0 to 60 and see what it does when it's down on power, almost 15%. We are in sport mode, traction control is off, and we're gonna brake rev the 6-speed automatic. And true 0 to 60 came in at 8.48. Trust me, in a vehicle this small, it feels a lot faster than that time would suggest. Let's get to our final thoughts. Final thoughts of the RF Miata is it's a phenomenal platform. There's not many things that give you as much fun per dollar as this. There's not many other roadsters to choose from unless you're looking at like a Porsche 718 Boxster or something like that that costs realistically 3 times as much. You get a whole lot of fun in a small package. Again, weighing 2,500 pounds, even with the heavy roof, being under 13 feet long, it's gonna fit really well in your garage. It's gonna make you feel like a race car champ just driving down the street because you have such good handling, such good control and feedback from this car. It's soft where it needs to be, yet firm and solid. It feels very planted on the road for being so small, like you're not gonna be pushed around by the wind. And you can get around traffic quite easily. Honestly guys, if you haven't driven one, you seriously need to. I drove an MX-5 last year, and then I was set on that being my next fun car because it's that good. I do think if you can't drive a manual, or if you live in a busy city, the automatic does do this car pretty well. The manual is definitely the way to go. But driving the automatic, it is a different characteristic to the car, and it's kind of interesting. It does feel like it needs more power with the automatic versus the manual, just because you can rev it out and have a little bit of fun in a different aspect doing it that way. But honestly, guys, it's a good looker. It's a fun vehicle to drive, and it's one that you should consider. Remember, I'm going to link it in the description below, and if you like my style, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.